If you're looking to maximize your full sales potential on Amazon, then you must make sure that every single piece of your Amazon listing is fine-tuned for both SEO and conversion. And one of the most overlooked pieces of this is your product description. So if you want to know some of the most important things that you need to do to really take your product description to the next level, then stay tuned. Hello, my name is Emma Shermer-Tamir. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Marketing by Emma, and we've worked on thousands of Amazon listings, so we know what it takes to create a product description to really break through the noise, do what you need it to do with SEO, and so much more. And one of the most important things that we need to establish is a myth about your product description, which is that if you have A+ content or premium A+ content, your product description will never be visible. And so you can just stuff it to the brim with keywords and it won't matter. I strongly encourage you to take a different stance with that for a few reasons. One, your product description does not always magically vanish when you upload your A+ content. We see from time to time listings that display both your A+ content and your product description. So if you're assuming that it's just going to be hidden and never see the light of day, you could be very wrong. Second of all, we all know with Amazon, things don't always go as we intend them to go, which means that even if your product description is hidden, let's say you hit a snag with your A+ content and it's not showing, that product description is going to be visible, and then suddenly it's going to be having to play a much stronger role than was required because your A+ content isn't there to do the heavy lifting. And then third being that we all know Amazon is always changing how they're doing things. So even if it's not visible with your A+ content loaded, you are not concerned about ever having a problem with your A+ content. Amazon could snap their fingers and tomorrow decide that both are going to be visible. So for these reasons, it's really critical that you make sure that you are giving some thought and attention to your product description so that it's as strong as it can possibly be, while of course still checking those boxes with keywords and all that jazz. So let's now get into what it takes to really create a standout product description. First things first, formatting. So formatting has gone through a lot of different phases with Amazon. It used to be very acceptable to use a variety of different HTML tags to format your product description. That is now against Amazon's terms of service. So the one exception being line breaks. So I'll put down what that signal looks like. So line breaks are the one exception for the HTML tags that you are allowed to use. You shouldn't go over the top with these, but they are a really fantastic tool that you have to break up those chunks of text to make it much more readable for the customer. So definitely recommend using line breaks. We use these both to create little headers for the different sections and then offset the paragraphs. You can even create a makeshift set of bullets by using a dash, writing whatever it is that you want to write, and then a line break to be sort of sequenced in that way. But that's the only HTML that you want to use in your product description. The great thing about your product description is that it's much more free form. So it doesn't have to follow the same formatting as your bullets or your title or even your A+ content. And so because of that, it gives you an opportunity to really think sort of more creatively about how you want to present your product, talk about its key benefits, important details, why someone would want this product, as well as being able to fit in some of those more complicated or hard to accommodate keywords that can be trickier to add into the title or the bullets, either because they're a little bit awkward or because they're just very long. And so they're going to keep you from having those concise bullets that are so important. If you'd like to know more about how to create a winning title for maximum click-through rate or how to create winning bullets, I will link both of those videos down below and up in the eye. Now, getting back to the product description, some other really important points to consider are not just that it's a great place for some of those more awkward keywords, but that it's also a fantastic place to really ramp up that SEO. So because it's more freeform and because you can fit in some of those longer phrases, you really want to make sure that you're including as many keywords as possible while still not stuffing them in so that it's reading like a list of keywords. There's a fine line. You don't want to keyword stuff to the point of where people are just reading a long list of keywords, while at the same time, you want to be really maximizing that space to your full potential. So of course, you're going to need to have a really solid keyword strategy in order to do that, a list of those keywords to use, and then incorporate those naturally so that they're not taking away from the flow of the text or keeping somebody from understanding what it is that you are talking about. So to recap, you want to take advantage of line breaks to help format your product description and make it readable. You want to use keywords in a way that's going to maximize your ranking and indexing potential without going over the top. And of course, you need to make all of this engaging, benefit forward, readable, strong, so that customers have all of that information that they need to know. So how do you identify what should you actually include in the product description? That is a fine balance between sort of touching on the most critical pieces that you are pointing out throughout the rest of your listing creatives. So the highlights from your product images, from your bullets, from the A+ content, as well as some of those more obscure details that could also be interesting and important for the customer to really understand your product. So this is where things like use, the full list of compatibility, some of those more granular details that may not be important or interesting to everybody, but still valuable and significant for a subset of your customers. Your product description is a great place to include that. So when you manage to weave all of these things together, the formatting, the SEO, and of course, always being as strong of copywriting, conversion minded as possible, then you're able to take advantage of this often forgotten or put to the wayside piece of your listing so that in any season, in any scenario, your listing is optimized to be able to capture as many customers as possible. If you have questions about how to do this, please drop them below. If you would like to know more about what it takes to create conversion spiking copy, please subscribe, reach out. We're always happy to help. And if you're wondering whether your product description or your Amazon listing as a whole has what it takes to be successful, please feel free to take advantage of our free listing analysis at marketingbyemma.com/free analysis. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.